And how many hours of peak performance do you believe we can have in any one period of a day? I realize they may be broken up with recovery.
Yeah, so but there's a
have?
difference between peak performance and flow. And when I say peak performance, I just mean getting our biology to work for us rather than against us. That's a lot of biology, right? How much time in flow can we spend? That's an interesting question. So there's no one number. Some flow states can stretch on and on and on and on. You'll get like stories Jack Kerouac wrote on the road in one like nonstop drug-addled flow state, right? And it'll happen like every day for 2 months. That's not unusual. Normal circumstances, what we think is you can have 2 to 3 micro flow states a day, easy. Macro flow, like the big turn it up to 11, you could probably have a state of micro flow and a state of macro flow. But if you're going to get in a state of macro flow, getting back into that state of macro flow again, probably going to be delayed by a little bit because it takes so much energy. So you might be able to get into micro flow the next day, but it's going to be really hard. I'll give you a really classic example. This happens to people a lot. They go on a ski vacation. Day one, getting used to the new location and things are new and I don't quite know where I am or what's going on. Maybe it's a little flowy, but it's not super flowy. Day 2, I've got my bearings. I'm not so scared, deeply flowy. And day 3, they think, oh my God, I had this kick-ass day yesterday. It all came together for me. Day 3 is going to be fantastic and day 3 is terrible. And it's because you've used up most of those peak performance neurochemicals and you actually need a rest day. And this happens, by the way, I'm one of the world's leading experts in this, and I make this freaking mistake all the time. Like I will have an amazing ski day, huge flow experience, learn a whole bunch of new tricks or whatever, and I'll be so fired up that I'll go back the next day expecting more of the same. And no, I've exhausted myself. I've left it all on the hill, and I've got no feel-good neurochemistry to drop me into flow. And it's a joke. I can't do it. I need a recovery day. So I make that. Everybody makes that mistake. Flow is delicious, and we want more of it, and that's why knowing the flow cycle is actually so useful. So peak performers, when they're faced with a tough challenge, the first thing they try to do is align it with intrinsic motivators. Then they start playing with other things. But this is the same thing with flow. If the challenge skills balance is getting too high, if the situation is producing too much anxiety, for example, you can lateralize. We used to do this on the ski mountain all the time. We'd go out and be big mountain skiing harder and harder lines and bigger challenges and things like that, and get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm burnt. Like I'm freaked out. That last line scared the hell out of me. I'm outside the challenge skills balance. I don't want to go anymore. So we would lateralize, go to the train park. We don't actually go to the kiddie park, the baby park, but where some of the challenges are tiny. And by the way, you can really get hurt in the baby park. Don't kid yourself. But the challenges seem tiny in comparison to what we've just been doing. And it shrinks the challenge skills sweet spot again, removes a bunch of stress, and suddenly we're making progress in the train park. This is another way of like, I'm not going to grit it out. I'm not going to try to fight the fear and keep pushing. I'm going to lateralize, mess with the challenge skills sweet spot, and get into a situation where I can be curious and exploratory and those other intrinsic motivators rather than scared.